Hey guys, it's Bob Hertzog. I have my friend with me today, Suzanne Lasky, with she's the owner operator of S Interiors here in the Valley. And I met Suzanne through the gym that I go to. And we got to talking about what she does for a living and what I do for a living. And obviously there's definitely an intersection there. As you guys know, most of you on this that are watching this today are clients of mine or friends. And especially if you're a client of mine, one of the biggest things that we run into when we're out there looking at homes is, what if we do this? What if we do that? That's the questions I get asked. What will it cost to redo this kitchen? What will it cost to redo this bathroom? And that sort of thing. And those are always tough questions for people like me to ask or to answer, I should say. I've got a pretty good idea because I've done quite a bit of remodeling projects myself and have been involved with some of my clients. And obviously, costs have changed or gone up quite a bit in the last few years than what they were, say, 4 or 5 years ago. But I wanted to bring Suzanne on to kind of talk about, you know, how she got going in this business, what she does for her clients, and then maybe get into some of the trends and things that she's seeing in the interior decorating industry right now. So without any further ado, Suzanne, just welcome, and it's good to chat with you and learn some stuff from you today. But tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started, what inspired you to get into interior design and your personal style and that sort of thing.
Great. Thank you, Bob. Thank you for having me. It's nice to see you outside the gym, as
Yeah,
I am. Yeah,
exactly.
I think we both look a little different,
Yeah,
but
right.
so gosh, the story is a bit long and I'll try to shorthand it.
No problem.
Basically, I worked in corporate America in business and product development and marketing, and decided after many corporate maneuvers that I didn't want to be that anymore. I didn't want to do that anymore. So with my bachelor's in business, master's behind me, I went and got my associate's degree in design
Oh,
so I can become an interior designer. I started taking classes at night while I was still working full time, decided I loved it, and threw caution to the wind and went for it. So that was a little over 24 years ago.
oh, wow. So you've been
Yeah.
doing this a while.
So that business expertise has helped me beyond belief.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talented people in design world.
Oh,
I
yeah.
also have that business acumen that really helps run a project for my clients in a very orderly, project managed, designed way because of my background.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's a benefit.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have to have a license to be an interior designer?
Not in the state of Arizona.
Okay.
There are certain states that require a license. So the distinction is I am an interior designer. I did go to school. I am a member of the ASID, American Society of Interior Design, which requires you to have formal education and a few other things to even be a member. To be licensed is not a requirement here. So yes, indeed, there are many people out there who can call themselves designers who, for those of us who put in this hard work to get that, yeah, we kind of like, no, no, you're not. But
Yeah.
not to take anything away from anyone.
Right.
Um, so
Right.
um, I began my professional career and I have my own business, S Interior Design. And I have sometimes contract workers who work with me. I have a great team of what I call my virtual experts in all the different trades that, I've surrounded myself with and built relationships with over those 2 decades plus. So while I work as a single entity, of course, my design assistant, Crunch, my dog, is sometimes here to help. But I act like a big company, but I just don't have some of the management dilemmas that might come with building a physical team. So
Yeah. The overhead
yeah,
and
the overhead and the personal, life stuff. So
much like real estate, a lot of people in our industry will have some success and then immediately want to run out and start a team and leverage their business. And a lot of times you take your eye off the prize, so to speak, and you're focused more on managing people, and I call it babysitting people, but and all of a sudden you're not making any money. You're not you don't have a career anymore other than trying to chase people around and get them to do things. So
Yeah. So in my corporate life, Bob, I had managed people.
yeah,
From
exactly.
time to time. And it was, had to definitely liked a lot about it, but I knew enough to know that it wasn't the path I wanted to
Yeah,
travel down.
yeah, I hear you. One of the biggest things, I guess, in my mind, when I think of interior design, and a lot of my clients, will say this too, the first thing that they think about, and really sometimes the primary thing they think of is, well, an interior designer's great at colors. Okay. I think that's kind of the first, and like me, I'm kind of like, well, that's pretty much all they do is just figure out good color schemes and
Well,
put
it's a
them.
good thing you're in Zoom because I might have to strangle you with that comment, Bob.
I'm just being transparent and honest, and
That's fine.
that's why I have you here, so you can dispel that,
Yes.
and so to speak. But tell us, what you do other than, I mean, color is probably a very small part of what you do. Tell us about the process, right?
Sure. Yeah. So we actually have a very defined process in how we start a project and work with people. And first and foremost is it a good fit for them and for me?
Right.
Sometimes it's not. It could be budget related, it could be personality related, but we're going to be involved. If I have a client, the likelihood is that we're going to be involved with each other for a bit of time, and I'm going to be touching two of the most personal things in their world,
Yeah.
their money, their wallets, and their home. So we need to be comfortable that we're going to work well together, we're going to communicate well. So my process starts with a lot of data gathering, information gathering, conversation. And then then I do an initial consult at the home. We talk, we walk. I'm high leveling this. There's a lot more detail on my website, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So then, I put together a customized design proposal for them that really gets specific about how we'll be working together, what it might cost them, what my professional fees are. And then they sign it, they're happy. We exchange money and off to the races. And so there's, depending upon the scope, which can vary very widely. I do new builds. I work with architects and builders and clients to do new builds. I do remodels I'm going to do my primary bathroom to I'm going to do my kitchen and all my bathrooms and everything in between. And then I also do furnishings,
Mm-hmm.
which include everything, art, accessories, area carpets, flooring, you name it. And every job is quite distinct, which is one of the reasons I love what I do.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not, it's different all the time. Every client is different. Every
Yeah.
scope of work is different.
Yeah, yeah, it's like a new palette to work with on every project. So in most cases, would you say that people come to you first before contacting a builder and let's talk today mainly about what my clients and friends are interested in, and which is mainly the remodeling end of things.
Yeah.
I do some new build type stuff, and my stepfather is a luxury home builder that has been doing it for 40 years. So, I mean, I've been around that side of the business a lot, and I've done some pretty huge remodel projects on my own homes that I've owned. And I guess my question is, in most cases, did they call you first and then you come in and you just, I'm assuming you want to find out what their vision is and then use your expertise to kind of work with that? Am I kind of on the right path there?
It goes in both directions. As I mentioned, I do have relationships with many people here, given my tenure in the Valley and doing this. So sometimes I am the first to the team, we'll call it, and I help build that team. And depending upon what the client's all about, what the remodel scope's about, I have different people that I will call in to interview, have the client interview. Ultimately, it's their decision, not mine. Again, these people are going to be in their home asking for money. They have to feel comfortable, but I have recommendations for that.
Mhm.
Sometimes one of my professional, tradespeople, the builders, the general contractor, the architect, will be first to the table, and then they'll ask me to be a part of the team. So it truly does go both ways. And sometimes the third thing is sometimes the client will say, I have a contractor that I've worked with before.
Yeah, that
So
was going to be
in
one of
that
my
case,
questions.
we have to make sure that we gel, that we
Yeah,
communicate well. I demand a high level of communication throughout any remodel process from any vendor I'm engaging with to make
yeah,
sure it goes smoothly for my client, because I am their advocate. I am their proxy.
yeah. Yeah, and
So
you guys really, you and the contractor, the architect, you guys really have to work as a team together and not get into the ego stuff and
exactly.
because I mean, I've talked to my stepfather about it before, and interior decorators can either make a project go much smoother, or they can make it go a lot worse. And just and a lot of it has to do, when you talk to them, a lot of it has to do with experience and knowledge of not just the design, like how pretty you make it look, but what's functional, and things like load bearing walls versus non-load bearing, and all that kind of stuff, where I've heard horror stories where he'll say, yeah, this decorator came in and just said, oh yeah, just take these walls out and do this,
Gosh.
that doesn't look load bearing. And then they open it up, and sure enough, the whole thing is
No, no, no,
bearing.
no.
So yeah, so I mean, it's definitely a team thing, right? You've got
For
to
sure.
guys.
And oh, by the way, for those of you listening, this designer would never do that.
Yeah,
I've been asked and I'll give an opinion, but I will quickly follow it up with, we need to have it thoroughly investigated by the experts to determine what's happening here and what can happen. So what I sometimes do on that subject is I'll put together a design plan. I will run it by the trades, the general contractor or builders, et cetera, before I even present it to the client, to make
Mhm.
sure that what I'm presenting is actually feasible from an execution standpoint.
Yeah,
I put
absolutely.
together, and what I do is I put together one of my trades have, he called it the blueprint. He said, you make my life so much easier. You put together the blueprint for everyone to follow. So the client's not saying, what color should I paint my walls? What grout should I use for this tile? Et cetera. Because I put together the entire plan that I've already had approved by our client, and they're executing, and they don't have to get into areas that they don't want to, they're not qualified to, and everybody seems a lot happier.
Right. And what I like that you said there, that's important to a lot of my clients, especially clients that are in what I would call luxury or higher end homes, $1 million plus type homes. Over the years, they may have developed relationships with a great plumber or a great tile guy that's done, some showers for them before, bathrooms for them before, what have you, or a great cabinet person or whatever. You don't have a problem, using their people, or, working with their people if they have some favorites. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Mostly.
Yeah.
So almost always. And by that type of situation, I've had the privilege of meeting wonderful resources that I use myself on other
Yeah.
projects.
You're like, wow,
Um,
I'm glad I met you. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. You're great. I wish, I'm so glad to use you now. You're a great painter, you're a great plumber.
Yeah.
I'm not a licensed general contractor, so
Right.
I know enough to be dangerous because of my years of experience, but I'm not going to say, as we talked earlier, remove that
Yeah.
wall. We need new HVAC. So yes, I'll work with it, a client's existing relationship. I want to make sure that that person is comfortable working with me.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And I guess
yeah,
I should have, that question probably isn't for you, because in most cases, that's an issue between the client and the general contractor, because it's his license, right? That could be imperiled here. If you want to use somebody that's not licensed, that's more of an issue between you and the general contractor than it is with you.
so S interior design only refers licensed, bonded, insured trades.
Yep.
If the client has John Smith, who they've used before, they love, they trust, it's made very clear both on paper and verbally between me and the client. I will give you the blueprint. I'll give you all the specifications, the plans, and I will work with him. But ultimately, I don't take money even if I bring the builder or GC to the job, I don't take that money. That contract is between the client, the homeowner, and their trades. S
Mhm.
Interior Design is not taking money for
Got
that.
it.
Again,
Got it. And that's a good segue into, my next question is, how do you get paid? I'm sure there's lots of different models out there, just like in real estate or building, you've got cost plus, you've got, whatever. Tell us about like how you run your business and how you determine what your fee is.
So back to every project is diverse. There
Yeah.
is no one size fits all. So what I'm going to tell you is kind of guidelines. It's not
Yeah.
set in
Yeah,
stone.
that's all. Yeah, because everything is going to be unique. I get that.
So right out of the gate, if someone is talking to three different designers, I can tell you they're going to get three different responses in terms of how they're compensated.
Got it.
There are no rules, and
Yeah.
everybody has their own way of doing things.
Mhm.
I generally will work on a flat design fee basis versus hourly. There are certain elements that make sense to do hourly, so the client isn't getting charged more than they should, and I'm not getting undercompensated because, so using a remodel example, it could be a hybrid approach where the design development and picking all the materials, finishes, all of that, that's a flat fee.
Yeah.
And then project management, which means the actual daily, weekly oversight, working with the builders, contractors on site, doing site visits, that might be hourly because I have a good idea of what it should take, but we don't know until we break into that wall, what
That's
the heck's
right.
going on, that
Right.
ceiling, what? So I have a good idea and I might say this fee includes up to X number of site visits and
Mhm.
anything beyond that is charged at an hourly rate.
Yeah.
So every situation again is unique, but that is a model that works well in those
Yeah.
situations.
Yeah. Um, is there like let's say one of my clients calls you and says, "Hey, we just bought this house. Bob told me to give you a call because we want to do a full-blown kitchen remodel here. We have no idea what this is going to cost. We don't know if this is a $50,000 project or a $500,000 project. Can can they call you and pay some kind of like a consulting fee? And you don't have to get into your fees right now, but is there an option there where you come out and say, okay, here, if you want to redo this kitchen, tell me what your thoughts are. What don't you, I'm assuming you go in and say, what do you not like about this kitchen? And they'll tell you, and then you come up with ideas. Is there something where you say, okay, I'm going to come up with a proposal and give you a ballpark of what this could cost, depending on how crazy you go with finishes? And do you do Sub-Zero appliances or GE? Do you, there's going to be like, I think what people really want is kind of a ballpark,
Yeah, yes. So
and
that's absolutely, you're right on, Bob. Yes, I do that. I call it the in-depth client consultation.
okay.
So it starts obviously, like I said, everything starts together at the same place. I'm data gathering, I'm getting information both about how they live, how they want to live, what their household composition is, down to the pets they have in the home, where they feed the pets. I mean, that level of detail. If it's a kitchen remodel, I'm doing even more details once we get into it, like how many people work in the kitchen? What are their heights? Are you right-handed? Are you left-handed? I mean, that level, because the kitchen, using that example, is the most functional room in most people's homes.
Yes, it
So
is.
function first and aesthetics will follow,
Yeah.
is my mantra. And I didn't make that term up, but I've used it extensively. I should probably find out who the original author was, but it is a mantra that I definitely follow.
Yeah.
So to do what you're referring to, we would start the process like every process in terms of the initial, I'll call it data gathering. It's called programming in the interior design field, the programming. But basically, in a nutshell, that's getting to know them really, really well and understand their needs, their desires. That includes sharing some visuals. And I have different tools that I recommend to share pictures with me.
Mhm.
So then I get to the house and I already have insights and information from what they've shared before we even met in person at the home. We get
Oh,
to the home and we go much deeper and we start talking deep. Like, do you want this more open? I mean, all the detail.
yeah.
you'd
Yeah.
imagine, down to what level they might not know. And the reality is most people don't know what things cost because they haven't done it either ever or in 10 years or 20 years. And as you mentioned at the very beginning,
Yeah. I
have
mean,
not changed.
and I know from personal experience, we were getting ready to blow out a wall and open it up our kitchen into the family room and all that. And my like I said, my stepfather is a contractor and he's looking at this wall saying, man, it could go either way. I don't think it's load bearing, but until we open it up, we don't know. And sure enough, we opened it up and now we have a $20,000
See?
issue to deal with that if we would have just started busting into things and writing checks to contractors and all that, I mean, it's stuff like that that trips you up and that causes a lot of unneeded stress. And, just I've learned from experience that it's so worth it to have someone come out and give you thoughts and ideas and do some investigation before you commit. Okay.
Mhm.
Because, like in our case, we thought we had the last big remodel we did was probably about well, the last big one was probably 7, 8 years ago, and it was, a $250,000 remodel on a home. And um, I have felt like over the years I've developed a pretty good idea of what stuff things cost. And just to give you an idea, we thought that this remodel of our kitchen was going to be around $80,000 to $90,000. That ended up being, once we got bids back, $160,000. So it doesn't mean we're not going to do it. It
Yeah.
just, we're going to maybe put it off now until things get better, with our businesses, or we got to save a little more.
Mhm.
Whereas I see people make that mistake all the time of they just call their buddy who's the contractor and they start tearing into walls and it's like, oh shit, we didn't realize we need to move the sewer line now because the
Yeah,
sewer
yeah,
line is
and
here or
it's not like TV, which I joke about, but it's really not a joke. So it's not like those design shows we all enjoy on HGTV. It's not that's not the real world.
that's
So,
right.
yeah,
That's
we I actually have a question on my client profile that asks if the person watches design shows and if ones
that's
and what do
good.
they like about them, because
Yeah.
that's part of the conversation to understand what their perceptions might be about this world versus reality. So I do this in-depth consultation as we started discussing, and then I put together a written document that really drills down into the investment. And so, like you were saying, you have a range, obviously, Sub-Zero
Yeah.
Wolf versus GE is going to have a different appliance package cost and into all of that. So,
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
this document can be used. You can hold on to it until, as you said, maybe in your case, you're ready to actually pull the trigger and start busting out the walls.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do that professionally for people. It is a fee base, obviously,
Right. Right.
but it's an invaluable tool because then you're going in with your eyes open.
Yeah.
And I just say to people, it's time, it's money, it's your choice, but you know what the options are and you can make educated decisions.
Right. Now, and I haven't looked at your website, and obviously people can go look at it as well, where I'm sure it lists some of the things that you do, the services you provide and all that. But let's say, one of the biggest things that comes up with my clients, especially when we're looking at higher end homes, is, well, they love the house, but the kitchen is a galley kitchen that they want to open up, or it's just not functional. It was built in the 70s, 80s, or even the 90s. Um, can you go in? Do you do like CAD type stuff where you can give some different design flow features for the kitchen, or is that something that you hand off to an architect to do that kind of stuff?
I do CAD. I
Okay.
use Chief Architect versus AutoCAD mostly. It's another software
Okay.
package. And I can do 3D
Oh,
with
perfect.
with a rendering aspect to it. It's not photorealistic rendering.
Yeah.
If the client isn't desiring a photorealistic render like you see on HGTV, I will outsource that to somebody who does that professionally. It's
Yeah.
not the right use of my time to learn that and spend my days sitting at the computer, but I do the layout, to scale layout. So we know where the cabinets are going, uppers, lowers, the island, the clearances, the heights of the different elements. If we have the countertops and backsplash tile and the finishes on the cabinets determined, I can lay that into the design
Oh,
visual.
great. Okay, yeah, because that was going to be my question is, if someone wants to just completely blow out their kitchen and put all new cabinets and in different areas that makes the kitchen more functional, that's something you can do. That's part of the design
Yes, yeah.
idea process, right? That's great because a lot of people don't have that skill in your business. They can draw it up a little bit, but I mean to get the detail of, okay, I know that we can put these kind of this size base cabinet here,
Mhm.
uppers, all that good stuff. You can do pretty much all that.
Yeah, for sure. And then I work with professional cabinet people to make it come to life.
Right.
But you have to have that visual. And then if they are in like your situation where breaking through this wall, it's going to have an open concept. I often will include what it's opening to, so you can
Oh,
see
cool.
how it'll feel in that capacity
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well, because the spaces need to flow. So if you have some sort of stonework on a fireplace, that's now going to be visual. We want to make sure it either coordinates back to what we're doing, or oh, by the way, we need to redo that fireplace too.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because,
exactly. That's the thing. It kind of snowballs, right?
it
It's like
does, it
where do you
can very much be a domino effect.
got to stop somewhere. Now, one of the biggest mistakes I see, and I've made it myself early on when I my wife and I first got married, we were buying homes, doing remodels, that sort of thing. We would go for the real cosmetic stuff first instead of the functional. In other words, we would look at a house and go, in the next 5 years, we've got to redo this kitchen, or we've got to take out this wall. We need to do this, but we don't have the money to do that right now. So let's just go put flooring in with what we have. And then, of course, 3 years later, you're ripping out all your new flooring because now you've got the funds to do a major remodel project and you've wasted all that. You had 3 years of really pretty flooring, but now it's all coming out because you've changed the whole design and the layout of your family room, kitchen, all that kind of stuff. So I'm sure you run into that same thing where you go and talk to people and they're like, well, we can really only afford to uh, refinish the cabinets right now. And it's like, well, but you told me that you don't want these cabinets on this wall. You probably run into that a lot too. And
Oh, for
it's
sure,
like,
for sure.
wait until you've got the funds to do it right?
So that's part of the conversation, obviously. The facelift, I'll call it, versus the true remodel.
Yeah.
And where it makes sense to invest. I'm dealing with that right now with a new client where they have wall-to-wall carpeting in their main living area. And it's very expansive. It's not a small space, and it's dated. It's dirty. It's dated. It needs to come out. So the conversation is, okay, do you replace it with new carpet, or do you replace it with something that you'll actually like better? And how does that impact the adjacent spaces? And yeah, so that's always a conversation. It's always connected. And sometimes people get it and see it, and other times they're like, wow, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Well,
run an island with plumbing in it. Well, we're going to need to jack up your concrete subfloor to run that plumbing. So
right.
yeah, and I will advise against it. And sometimes I'll say, don't put a penny into this. It's not worth it if you truly are committed to doing a bigger remodel.
That's key right there. Suzanne, is you have to look at this like, I mean, even though it's your home and it's emotional and that sort of thing, but there needs to be something said during the conversation as to what is this going to do to the value of your home if you're going to, if and when you go to sell it, which kind of takes me into my next question that I have for you is, the design trends and timeless versus
Mm.
what's new and flashy and that sort of thing. As you know, I mean, if you go through any of these flips that are out there on the market, there's still a lot of the whites and the grays. And what I'm finding is I've got buyers now, it's crazy, but they're now saying, I don't want white and gray. It looks too what's the word? I feel like I'm in a laboratory sometimes is the
Dark,
feedback
a little stark, and not
because they
warm.
go too crazy with it, right? And people are actually starting to come back to, and I noticed on one of your photos, a couple of your photos actually on your website of stuff you've done recently, the darks and the warms are starting to come back a little bit. What in, and I know there's probably not a way to really answer this question well, but what is the general trend out there in terms of design trends, that you're seeing when it comes to, just say, color, for example? What
Sure.
are you seeing?
So I'm going to just start by saying I stay aware of the quote trends. I don't follow them.
Okay.
And I've had, people going, I want a gray and white kitchen, and I will have the conversation. Why do you want it? Is it because of what you're seeing on Pinterest, or is it because it's something that truly speaks to you and you love? So to your point, the graying is gone.
Is
And
it
it has
okay?
been for a while. It just takes general populace a little bit to catch up. So in the design world, the warming, I'll call it,
Yeah.
started about 2 years ago, but it's not warming to the Tuscan colors of the 90s, early
Okay.
2000s, not that. It's more of I'll call them colors that swing both ways.
Okay.
So more, they're neutral still, but they're warmer. The term that gets thrown around is grayish. It's misleading. And I'm not sure we should even use it, but so they still might have some putty undertones to it versus a true brown. But the warming is definitely a part of our world.
Yeah.
Green is a big part of our world. Biophilic design. I don't know if you've heard that term.
Uh-uh.
Biophilic design. It's basically bringing nature inside. There's many ways you can do that besides the obvious, which is let's have some plants and trees in my home. But basically, in the trend world, people are going into the organic space more. And this is all generalities
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's what trends are. But
Sure.
they want to bring nature inside. They want to be warmer. They want to be friendlier and more approachable versus cold and stark and gray and white and black.
Yeah.
That said, there's still people who love that. And if it's truly something they enjoy and want in their space, then great. But if
Mhm.
it's because they're looking at the Pinterest boards and getting influenced, maybe not as great.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got one that's kind of more you know, personally, what we've looked at is flooring in our home right now. And my wife just loves the white oak uh, you know, plank flooring that's out there. But then you start going deeper into that, and it's like, do you go with an engineered wood, or now some of this, what do they call it, LPV, and some of the
LVP.
LVP, some of that stuff, you can't tell the difference. I mean, it's
Yeah,
beautiful. And
it is.
there's a $5 million home I looked at the other day that had that throughout the entire
I might
first.
have designed it, Bob.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So that's a trend that came out of, because the stuff
Yeah,
is
so
half the price of
it
doing
can
even
be.
here.
Like everything, there are huge ranges. The quality LVP, luxury vinyl plank is what that stands for, is it can be not as pricey as hardwoods,
Yeah,
but definitely, a nicer material can cost a little bit. I'm a huge fan for busy households,
yeah.
dogs, cats, kids, just
Dog,
messy
that's
pets.
the big, yeah. That's the
Um,
big thing. We have bamboo
yes.
floors. They're beautiful floors in our home that were, but they definitely look like 90s. Okay. But the dog's nails just, I mean, everywhere when we've got big dogs. So,
Mhm.
and when we bought the home, there were marks in that floor. And so that's a big, you had mentioned earlier that that's a big part of or not big part, but a part of what when
Yes.
your design is those family pets. I mean, and what they can do to a house.
Yeah.
And then little kids. I mean, do you want wood plank floors in a house with big dogs and little kids spilling stuff all over the place? And now, you're starting to see people put wood floors in their kitchen, but they're going towards the engineered or the LP,
LVP.
where you're totally, I mean, that stuff's just almost as waterproof as tile, isn't it? The
Yeah, so as I mentioned, there are different levels. The luxury vinyl plank that I recommend to clients and I've worked with is the nicer level. Obviously, it's not what you find at Home Depot, although I shouldn't say that. I don't know what's at Home Depot now.
Right.
It's not Pergo. Pergo is a four-letter word, in case anyone was wondering. So it's all about wear layer and the substrate, and is it a waterproof
Yeah.
substrate, not just topical? And there's actually many variables to consider. Again, this is where you want to speak with a professional. Maybe not just the person at the flooring store, maybe depending upon who it is. I don't work on commission that way, so I'm an objective
That's good to
person.
know. That's good to know.
Yeah,
The other big thing, and it's especially true with Pergo, is it drives my wife nuts.
stop cursing, Bob. Stop saying
We,
that four-letter word. It's okay.
but we've bought a couple houses that had it and we lived with it for a while. When a dog walks across a Pergo floor, it's like click, 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 versus engineered or even the other stuff. You don't get that because those are the kind of things you have to think about that you don't know until you've already spent all that money and put it in. And that's where someone like you comes in and says, wait a minute now, if we go with this option, here's the advantages and the disadvantages. And then the client can weigh that and decide which way
Exactly,
they.
exactly. So, I just, I've done this not that long. It's like a $3 million home with a $500,000 remodel. It was a large project. And we put a luxury vinyl plank on the steps going up to the second level, which is where the kids' bedrooms were in a common area for the kids. But he was like, I can't have that in my primary bedroom or my office downstairs. It has to be real wood. Now in Arizona, engineered wood is almost always specified because of our environment and climate. It
Right.
just works better, holds up better. But long story short, the LVP was installed before the wood was installed. And he said to me, is it too late? It absolutely looks and feels amazing. Can we do that in my bedroom and office downstairs? And I said, I wish we could, but I believe that's already been ordered. We'll have to talk with the builder.
Yeah.
So now you want it. And but that happens because it can seem to, especially at a higher end level, it can seem like, oh, that's cheap. That's not authentic. But I can tell you I have it in my own home. And then
Mhm.
I walk with bare feet, there's actually texture to it and it's very authentic looking. Again, it's a nicer level's always there. So you might say, well, in these guest bedrooms I'm going to do one level and in my main area I'm going to do a different. I mean, there are all different ways to work on things.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
based on budget
Right.
and desire.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, I think we got a lot of great info. The main thing I wanted people to know is that you're a good first step, okay, when and to call to figure out. People get these dreams in their head of what they want to do with a home, and there's certain things that I know from experience before they even buy the home. I'll just say, guys, I know you say you want to lift the ceiling throughout this house. It's a flat roof home. You're that's very expensive. I mean,
Oh my gosh, yes.
people just think, oh, we'll just raise the level of the roof. Well, even if a home has an attic, and there's space to move it up, you're redoing everything above there, including all your wiring, and
Your HVAC, yep.
in some cases, plumbing is in the attic,
Yeah.
especially homes built in the 50s and 60s. I remember as a kid growing up in a home where you hear the pipes rattle at night when someone would turn the water on up in the attic. So there's just a lot of mistakes that you can make by saying, well, I don't want to pay the extra X amount of dollars for an interior designer because that means I'll get less cabinets or less quality of something else. I'll have to cut somewhere else. And what they don't realize, and I think that's the biggest thing, is the amount of money you can save, okay,
Absolutely.
by having at least that initial consultation. And then if they move forward with the project, being able to babysit the project and manage it. We've all done it before. We've done our own type of remodels where you think, I'm not going to hire a general contractor to oversee it or whatever. I'm going to save money. And then all of a sudden, you're pulled away from your job where you make money and it's costing you there to be a manager of something you know nothing about. So,
Yeah, I have the utmost of respect for builders and general contractors. Their jobs are not easy. They're super, super hard.
yeah, I
They need
wouldn't
some
want
very high level communication and project management skills to do it right.
to. And
Excuse me, I don't know why this is ringing. Please ignore it. Do you hear a phone ringing? My apologies.
Nope, you're fine. I don't hear it. That that's a big thing too. The quality of subs that you refer or that the general contractor refers. My stepfather does, some pretty high-end remodels, and he'll tell you, yeah, you can beat my subs prices all day long. You can go find subs that'll, but I have a favorite saying that price is only a consideration in the absence of value. And
That's a wonderful saying.
yeah, and what happens is he'll tell you, he goes, I don't care what my subs charge. I know they're good. And when they say they're going to do something, it gets done, because he has all kinds of horror stories about what, if a sub drops the ball and delays a project, it's always the cabinet guy or the
Yeah.
plumber. They're,
That's
they're always
funny.
waiting on somebody.
The finger pointing.
And he pays his subs very well. And the reason he does is when he snaps his fingers, they jump and they're on it. And if something isn't done the way the client wants, it's ripped out and it's redone at no cost to them if it's their fault, obviously. So,
Those are the people I refer to and work with here in the
yeah,
Valley.
that's
And
great.
if the sub has, like the tile flooring guy has a couple of teams, if I'm involved in the project, I'm getting the A team involved. I don't want the B or C team. They can
Yeah,
go somewhere else.
right. Exactly. Exactly. I love it. I love it. All right, Suzanne. Well, thank you for taking the time. For those of you that are watching this, obviously, at the end of this video, we'll have Suzanne's contact information on there, so you can go online, take a look at her stuff. She has a beautiful website that she just redid here in August that has all of her latest projects that she's worked on and so forth. And yeah, I mean, all of her contact info's there. Give her a call if you're looking at doing a project. I've already got a couple of people in mind that I've recently sold homes to that I know were interested in doing some remodel project type stuff. So I'll be reaching out to them to make sure they watch this as well. And, obviously I didn't say this at the beginning of this thing, but any of you that are my clients or friends or whatever, if you'd like to sit down with me on this and kind of talk about your business, I'm an entrepreneur, solopreneur myself, and anytime I can help people that are trying to do it out there on their own, I'm always happy to do it. So, Suzanne, anything that you want to say before we end this thing?
Only thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak with you and for sharing this information with your contacts. It's hard to find people who are, unfortunately, it's sometimes hard to find people who are genuine and solid. And you, Bob, obviously are one of those. So I appreciate you and just thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right, guys. Well, give Suzanne a call if you're looking at doing your next remodel or new build project, and we'll talk to everyone soon.
All
Have a
right,
good
thank
one.
you again.
Okay,
Thanks.
see ya.